Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto 2 Blue Vortex discussion. Today, I want to talk to you about why Chapter 15 of 2 Blue Vortex has used the moment where Boruto told Kawaki to get his limiters removed as the perfect bridge to start setting the stage for the also controversial, mythical, magical Musuka Eye known as the Jougan inside of Boruto, and why all roads seem to be headed towards the Jougan making its long-awaited debut. In the story itself, join me in today's newest Naruto Explain video where we take a look at Boruto's Jougan Eye and how this Eye awakening changes everything in the future moving forward for Boruto, Kawaki, Jura, and most importantly, Shibai and Momoshiki. So in the last chapter, we all saw Boruto approach Kawaki and tell him that for the battles that they're approaching with Jura, as Kawaki is currently, he's not going to be able to participate in a meaningful way against the enemies this strong, telling him his only chance is to see Amato to have his limiters removed. Because when Amato gave him the karma again, the ninja tech in Kawaki's body was purposely affected, which makes sense. Kawaki's body is all ninja tech, so he's like a computer that you or I use. If it's compromised, bad things can happen, which is why Kawaki should have protected himself using Surfshark VPN, the sponsor of today's video. This video is going to be brought to you by Surfshark VPN. With how increasingly online our world is getting, you can never be too careful with your online privacy and security for your accounts and your personal devices. Tapping into the wrong public Wi-Fi, it can lead to things like session hijacking and passwords being stolen and identity theft, which is why VPNs like Surfshark VPN are essential in today's day and age. On top of getting cool perks like access to censored content from other countries, it might be geo-block like your favorite anime and movies like I'll do to watch series like Cowboy Bebop or Rick and Morty, since neither is available in the United States. You also get access to 24/7 customer support, no log VPNs. You get over 3,200 servers in over 100 different locations, and unlimited devices can be covered. Browse the world privately by encrypting your internet activity, blocking ads and malware, and feel safe while doing so. Best of all, there is a 30-day money-back guarantee when you try out Surfshark VPN. So if you try it out and you don't like it, you can always cancel. But I personally strongly recommend using a VPN and being able to connect an unlimited amount of devices. It is a massive plus. Surfshark also offers Surfshark Antivirus, which protects you from those sneaky viruses and malware, which means those PDF files, those fake invoices, you no longer got to worry about that. And you get benefits like Surfshark Antivirus being able to support up to 5 devices, and most importantly, your webcam, it is protected, so you don't end up like Kawaki and have someone like Amato looking at your life without your permission. Use my link in the description box and the pinned comment, or go to surfshark.com/NarutoExplain4 to get 4 months extra for Surfshark when you sign up. Thank you again to Surfshark for sponsoring today's video. The moment that Kawaki goes to Amato and he gets his limiters removed, his offense, it increases, and it's going to go well above his defensive increases, and his regen abilities, which we were told were directly amped up, because Amato has been confirmed to have severely held back Kawaki's offense, which is in line with what Ikimoto and Kishimoto revealed in that interview done a couple months back in France, where it was alluded to that Boruto came back so overpowered and that Kawaki would be in need of a buff as well. It follows the dynamic that both Naruto and Sasuke had in Naruto, where one will pull ahead of the other before the other one would catch up and pull ahead again, and then they would seesaw until we would get to the very end of the series, which is important to take note of because Boruto has been applying the same formula, but with a few tweaks that have been added to it so as to not completely rip off the parent series and keep things fresh, which is what you would expect for a sequel. In order for Boruto to get his power up, you need Kawaki to get his, and given the method at which Boruto's powered up, the Shinjutsu known as 10 Directions, which allowed Kashin Koji to teach Boruto all the various jutsu that he learned so he could level up fast enough to have the best chance to bring down Jura. Yet based on everything we've seen so far in Boruto, even though he's been growing at a rapid rate, there are still holes in Boruto's arsenal, not counting the karma, which he can't even properly control. But just as the jutsu he was taught during the 3-year time skip, there are issues as well, which is another important layer to take account of before you move to the Jougan Eye itself. Everything is connected. Boruto learned all these jutsu, but in typical Boruto fashion, he learned them very, very fast. but they're not truly mastered. He has a clear weakness with each of them, in that they can be directly correlated to a skill issue, which has always been a character flaw of his. Learn the fastest way to use a jutsu, but because he's smart enough to figure out how to go from step 1 to step 10, he skips steps 2 through 9 or halfway does them, so as in order to get to the finished product faster, which is why Sasuke has said repeatedly to him, pay more attention to the basics, and if you do, you'll be unstoppable. His flying Raijin is more impressive in the sense that he can teleport to OTSUTSUKI dimensions within it, whereas Minato and Tobirama couldn't. But the drawback comes from Boruto is that whereas the other two couldn't go into dimensions, they were able to pull off the teleportation at speeds that were just downright insane, enough to make each of them boogeyman in the eyes of history in regards to how quick they use teleportation. You rarely saw Minato have to make the concentration seal with his hands before you used flying Raijin. You can count on one hand the number of times you saw him do so, but you did see Boruto have to do it several times, taking less time than Minato's Hokage guard, but still taking more time than Minato. Even Tobirama, the guy who invented the jutsu and isn't even the best one in performing it, even Tobirama has been shown easily zipping around the battlefield without the need to take those extra few moments to gather chakra to perform the jutsu. As we all know, those extra few moments, they were the difference between Jura being born or the Ten Tails being destroyed. And in this looming battle with Boruto and Kawaki versus Jura, those extra few seconds, they're gonna be crucial. But it doesn't just stop there. With his Rasengan Uzuhiko, we see it in how he has to buy time to perform the jutsu, whether it be holding a conversation with Code so he could gather up the chakra for the attack, or he had to rely on Sarada and Konohamaru to buy him time so he could charge up the attack before it could land on Hidari, because the weakness of the attack is that Boruto has to draw in chakra directly from his feet that are touching the ground. With flying Raijin, one, we can talk that up to a skill issue, but when it comes to the Uzuhiko, we can say with absolute certain that it might not be a skill issue because it is still a brand new jutsu, but that's also why Kawaki getting his power up is the ideal bridge to the Jougan, because Kawaki is going to get this monster boost in power seemingly overnight. All Amado's got to do is just download some stuff into his ninja tech and then bam, Kawaki's super strong. Or he's got to look him in the eyes and say whatever he has to say in order to take his limiters off, on top of having full control over his karma. Here you have Boruto who's done all this leveling up, but there are holes and deficiencies in his arsenal, and they're getting ready to go against Jura, someone who's so strong that Boruto flat out says he needs help in order to battle. Kashi and Koji's told him like, hey, this dude's gonna kill you more than likely if we go down this path that you want to, because in this possible timeline, we save Sasuke, but you die. So this is a very serious matter. That line by Kawaki about catching Boruto, it wasn't there for nothing. The same applies to his promise to kill Boruto, and that Zero had changed in that regard. Kawaki's power-up is likely going to throw him above Boruto, and he's observant enough to start clocking weaknesses in Boruto's fighting style and the limits of his body. Is going to put Boruto back in the position he was in part 1, where he's playing catch-up to Kawaki. That's where the Jougan has a chance to really come into play here. Boruto right now, he has gaps in his jutsu arsenal, despite having overpowered and hacks jutsu, and Boruto can't use his karma seal because when he tried to use it, it just made the Momoshiki problem a lot worse. He's not going to be able to defeat Kawaki in the future without that power. He might not even be able to take down Jura without being able to tap into the power, even if Kawaki regains his true power. He's not going to be able to face those threats without confronting and conquering his deepest corners of his soul, which is where Momoshiki resides in the Jougan. It's that one thing that tips the scales in his favor, especially when you consider the Shibai possibility. So an eye that is linked back to the OTSUTSUKI clan, an eye that was called an ancient power of the OTSUTSUKI, and one that was considered to be scary and quote troublesome when the OTSUTSUKI saw it. Momoshiki and Urashiki, that is your wild card there. Toneri in the Academy novel that Kodachi had his hands on flat out says that the Jougan was something that was already there inside of Boruto, but all he did was partially awaken it earlier so that the issues with Nue could be resolved. And we saw later on with the OTSUTSUKI trio that came to Earth, until they were dealt with, the eye, it never truly went away. But it's been there inside of Boruto this entire time, just waiting in the shadows. The Jougan eye is also known as the pure eye, which when we look at how the Naruto franchise has incorporated Buddhism in the past very heavily, which that still includes Boruto's manga, which has used Buddhism too, we have an eye that might be the key to dealing with Boruto's Momoshiki problem and him having the roadmap to controlling that power. Momoshiki's soul is the issue for Boruto. He exists in his genetics. He's part of Boruto's own soul. Souls that pass on to the afterlife of Naruto, they go to a place that's called the Pure Land in the Japanese manga. Boruto has the pure eye. So the prospect of that eye being able to contain or vanquish the soul of Momoshiki, it isn't out the realm of possibility, particularly now that we know Kawaki's dojutsu, the kokugan, and Ada's senrigan, they are all shinjutsu. That is very important to keep in mind, because when we look back at what we typically had in Naruto's manga, the manga only, so I don't care about any of the stuff that happened in the anime, there were 3 great dojutsu in the manga. And then there was one primary dojutsu that was traced back to the original OTSUTSUKI who harvested Earth according to Naruto's manga, which was Kaguya. Kaguya had a rinnesharingan, and then we had the rinnegan, we had the byakugan, we had the sharingan. Look at where we are right now with the OTSUTSUKI god. We already have the senrigan, a dojutsu that Ada possesses, which allows her to see all things in the present and the past up to the moment of her birth. You got Ishiki, who, due to having karma on Jougan and Kawaki, his dojutsu is known as the kokugan, which is another shinjutsu, and we've seen how troublesome those abilities are. That leaves us with one final dojutsu to be introduced into the fold, and that is the Jougan eye. In the flash forward sequence, Kawaki was startled by what he saw, and Boruto's eye was drawn as activating, with the speed lines pointing directly towards the eye, not his karma seal, the eye itself. His karma had already been spreading prior to that, but this is direct speed lines going to the eye. That's a telltale moment here. It makes you consider what Shang-Chi Wong said, a talented animator who got groomed working on the Naruto franchise and has done a lot of amazing stuff as a director since Boruto's ended. Very talented animator, did the Naruto and Sasuke versus Momoshiki fight, but he said that the Jougan eye, when it was being workshopped into the story, he said that they as staff had a general idea about the eye and the curse mark, which we know that the latter is the karma seal and the former is the Jougan. But he said that the writer at the time, which was Kodachi, was still working on a lot of the specifics, and we know from Ikimoto's statements in the past, they just rushed to come up with the designs and etc. because Kishimoto said, I want Boruto to look drastically different than he did in Boruto the movie, and that's what they came up with. So Shang-Chi Wong said that the eye possessed powers that directly link to something extremely important, which is the OTSUTSUKI clan dimensions. That is going to be something that definitely comes in handy moving forward, especially with the 2 missing OTSUTSUKI out there and the fact that Shibai ascended to a higher plane. The prospect of the Jougan being the stabilizing force for Boruto and being something that puts him over the edge in terms of dealing with Kawaki, from the power boost that the eye gets to the sensory skills that surpass 6-pass Sage Mode sensory abilities, to being able to better see the chakra pathway system than the byakugan in an era where each of those things are very important, particularly the chakra pathway system, where there just happens to be a shinjutsu from Shibai that affects the chakra in the brain in a way that goes against everything previously mentioned, a shinjutsu that might only be overcome by another shinjutsu since Ada cannot control the power itself. This is how you get Boruto leveled up very quickly after Kawaki gets his power up, which means that Jougan time is coming as quickly as you clicking here to watch the Boruto chapter 15 review if you haven't already, or click here for my new video from Anime Explained where I talk about non-Naruto content.